The Complete History of the Bible, Part 1. Before the Bible existed, the world before Scripture. When most people think of the Bible, they imagine a single book containing God's message to humanity. Yet the Bible did not begin as a book. It did not suddenly appear in written form. Instead, its story stretches back thousands of years before the first words were ever written on parchment, papyrus, or scrolls. To understand the history of the Bible, we must travel back to a time before Scripture existed, to a world where history, faith, and tradition were preserved through memory and spoken words. According to the book of Genesis, the story begins with creation itself. The Bible opens with the declaration that God created the heavens and the earth. In 6 days, God brought order out of chaos, creating light, sky, land, seas, plants, animals, and finally humanity. On the 6th day, God created Adam, the first man, and later Eve, the first woman, placing them in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was described as a place of beauty, abundance, and perfect fellowship with God.
Adam and Eve were given responsibility over creation and were free to enjoy everything in the garden, except the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
However, temptation soon entered the story. A serpent deceived Eve into eating the forbidden fruit. Adam followed her example, and according to biblical teaching, sin entered the world through their disobedience. This event, known as the fall of man, fundamentally changed humanity's relationship with God and became one of the central themes running throughout the entire Bible. Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden, and life became marked by hardship, suffering, and death. The next major event involved their sons, Cain and Abel. Abel offered a sacrifice pleasing to God, while Cain's offering was rejected. Consumed by jealousy, Cain murdered his brother, becoming the first recorded murderer in biblical history. This tragic event illustrated the growing influence of sin in human society. As generations passed, humanity multiplied across the earth. According to Genesis, people lived for extraordinarily long periods, and human civilization began developing agriculture, animal husbandry, music, and metalworking. Yet despite these advancements, moral corruption spread throughout the world. The Bible describes a time when human wickedness became so widespread that God determined to judge the earth through a great flood. Among all humanity, one man stood out for his righteousness: Noah. God instructed Noah to build a massive ark capable of preserving his family and representatives of every kind of animal. The task seemed impossible. Building such a vessel required tremendous faith, especially when many people likely mocked and ridiculed him. When the ark was completed, the floodwaters came. Rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights. Waters covered the earth, destroying all life outside the ark. Noah, his family, and the animals survived safely inside. After the flood receded, Noah emerged into a renewed world. God established a covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy the earth by flood. The rainbow became the symbol of this covenant, representing God's mercy and faithfulness. The descendants of Noah spread across the earth, repopulating the world. However, humanity once again sought independence from God. This led to another significant event known as the Tower of Babel. According to Genesis, people gathered in one location and decided to build a great tower reaching toward heaven. Their goal was to make a name for themselves and demonstrate their power and unity apart from God. In response, God confused their languages, making communication difficult and causing people to scatter across different regions of the earth. This event is presented as the origin of diverse languages and nations. These early accounts form the foundation of biblical history. Yet they raise an important question. How were these stories preserved before the Bible existed? Long before written records became common, ancient societies relied heavily on oral tradition. Stories, genealogies, laws, and historical events were memorized and passed from generation to generation through spoken word. In the ancient world, oral tradition was far more sophisticated than many people realize today. Entire communities were responsible for preserving important information accurately. Elders taught younger generations, ensuring that family histories, cultural memories, and religious beliefs were carefully maintained. For centuries, God's dealings with humanity were remembered and transmitted in this way. The people of the ancient Near East lived in cultures where storytelling played a central role. Important events were repeated regularly during family gatherings, religious ceremonies, and community celebrations. These oral traditions helped preserve the earliest foundations of biblical history. Over time, writing systems began emerging throughout the ancient world. One of the earliest known writing systems was cuneiform, developed in Mesopotamia around 3200 BC. Ancient Egyptians developed hieroglyphics, while other civilizations created their own methods of recording information. As literacy gradually expanded, humanity gained the ability to preserve information with greater permanence. This development would eventually transform how God's message was recorded. Many scholars believe that portions of ancient traditions were written down long before the final compilation of biblical books. Family records, genealogies, legal codes, songs, and historical accounts may have existed in written form alongside oral traditions. These preserved memories would later contribute to the formation of Scripture. The importance of these early stories cannot be overstated. They establish themes that continue throughout the entire Bible: creation, sin, judgment, mercy, covenant, faith, and redemption. Every major section of Scripture builds upon these foundations. The story of Adam and Eve explains humanity's need for salvation. Noah's story demonstrates both divine judgment and divine mercy. Babel reveals humanity's tendency toward pride and self-sufficiency. Together, these narratives prepare readers for the next stage of biblical history. Soon, God would call a man named Abraham and begin forming a special covenant relationship that would shape the future of Israel and eventually lead to the writing of the Bible itself. The journey from oral traditions to sacred scripture was only beginning. In Part 2, we will explore Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and the rise of God's covenant people, the family through whom the Bible's story would continue to unfold.